money makes you more of what you already are.
Is it actually success if somebody's out there making more money, but everything else is falling apart and they're not actually fulfilled? No.
Welcome to episode 1 of What I Wish They Told Me, where we interview successful business owners and ask one simple question. If you had the opportunity to go back and visit your younger self at any point in the timeline, where would you go and what wisdom would you share?
There's going to be only 2 kinds of jobs available for our kids. Jobs that are above the API, which means you give orders to the computer, and most jobs below, which means the computer is giving you orders. And so if you want to teach very valuable skills to your kids, I would say it's important to give them opportunities to be above the API.
It's interesting because half the time, I think their ideas are just better than mine. As adults, you kind of get into these preconceived notions, trying to kind of limit your brain, whereas a kid doesn't have those. A kid can look at something and it's truly a blank slate.
You matter, and you do have a lot more potential, and you are just as smart as anyone else.
But the one thing that's going to be more important than anything is helping that human being find purpose in their life. Because once they do that, everything else becomes lighter.
While we can't go back in time and share wisdom with our younger selves, we have the opportunity, the obligation even, to share that wisdom with our youngest kids today.
The key to life, as I see it, is to find the things that you're great at and then build your life around those things.
The depression goes away, the heaviness goes away.
Personality. I show my fun side. They get the very serious, sick grown, yeah, this is how you do it, tough love. And then, I'm wearing a different dress every day. Let's have fun. It's so important. So important to have fun.
I think girls are often not necessarily given that same message of entrepreneurialism the same way that boys or young men certainly are.
No matter what other people tell you or whatever, your grades or everything tell you, it's like you have a whole lot of potential.
Playing big doesn't come from working more, pushing harder, or finding confidence. It comes from listening to the most powerful and secure parts of yourself, not the voice of self-doubt.
By the time I was 19, I was pretty sure that death was the only way to end the pain. It was one of those times where I feel like God decided to put his hand upon my shoulder.
Heard a preacher actually where he was talking about the fall doesn't hurt. What hurts is the crash landing.
Pain without a purpose is literally torture, but pain with a purpose is progress.
With every hardship, keep asking, how can I use this to be a better person?
When you're in the right environment, whether it's with your parents, whether it's with peers and colleagues, if you have someone or something to catch you when you fall, then falling is not bad.
There's decisions I would have changed, but I also think that the decisions, even the bad decisions, are what helps you learn.
I call them bonus kids, as in sometimes they might come over at 2 a.m. when they have an issue. Like one of them wants extra chicken and chia seeds, so they put them on our family grocery list that we have on the fridge. I give them household chores if they're here. They're not my children. They don't call me mom. I'm not their mom. I'm just an extra person who loves them in their lives.
There's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. And if you cross it from confidence over to arrogance, you lose more people than you gain in your life, usually.
I hate to use the term problem solver because that, to me, you're attracting problems in your life, right? I like solution seeker, right, better. And so to me, it's like, I'm a solution seeker.
We all talk about those moments when an idea pops into our head, right? Oh, that would be great. We should create that. We should do this. We should do that. We draw on the whiteboard.
You can create a business over the course of a weekend. That's the aha moment. Doesn't matter if this business is the big one or not. All that matters is you see that you can go from zero to business over the course of a weekend and get your first customer, your first client.
When it's real, when it hits you in the gut as something powerful, that's a pure message from the Spirit. And if we don't act upon that or do something about that, we're acting against the Spirit. We're acting against our own selves and our own creation.
I'm your host, Stephen Warner, and this first episode is going to be short and sweet. Today, it's just you and me. I'm going to share the purpose behind what we're doing, why it's important, give you an opportunity to join this mission if it's something that you believe in too. And at the end, you'll get to hear a rap song that I made explaining how this journey began in the first place. So the first question for today is why? It's the most important question. Why does this podcast exist? What purpose does it serve? Why should you listen? Well, for starters, our kids are growing up in a world more uncertain than we have ever seen before. The economy feels unstable. College is getting more expensive. Jobs are getting harder to find. Technology is making things more complicated. And our kids are growing up with a feeling of constant anxiety about what the future might or might not hold for them. Now, what most kids don't realize is that their parents, us, we're feeling just as much anxiety about it as they are. We just don't want them to see it. We worry about whether our kids are focused on the right things, whether what they're doing is going to prepare them for the future. They talk about big dreams, they talk about big goals, and we wonder, is that realistic or is that naive? And then we wonder, how do I direct their energy in a way that helps keep that sense of wonder and possibility while also preparing them for the realities of the world that they're about to enter into? And then enters the biggest unknown. What world exactly are they about to enter into? Now, here's a scary stat. Did you know that within the next 5 years of recording this episode, within 5 years, artificial intelligence is projected to replace 30% of existing human jobs? It's already drafting legal documents, filling out medical reports, doing graphic design work, managing warehouse inventory, handling customer support inquiries, driving cars, and writing computer code. So when I say in the next 5 years that AI is projected to replace 30% of existing human jobs, that's a conservative estimate. That's not a conspiracy theory. These are real predictions from real economists published by, for example, McKinsey Global Institute, World Economic Forum, International Monetary Fund, and Goldman Sachs. Everyone agrees hundreds of millions of employees will lose their jobs to AI in the next 5 years. Some studies are optimistic. They say, hey, in the past, when technology would replace jobs, it would always create more. That's what we've always seen. People would get into different industries. People would get into tech. But there's one problem. Automation, technology, artificial intelligence has never been smarter than a human before. So what happens when a computer becomes smarter than a human in almost every way? What happens when AI can do an entire job better than any human while working 24/7 without taking breaks, without complaining, and without asking for a raise? As a matter of fact, it just keeps getting cheaper. I'll tell you what happens. Human employees become obsolete. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the world that our younger kids are about to get launched into, that my 17-month-old daughter is about to be launched into. It's a world that doesn't have room for them. And that's why this podcast exists. It exists to help you, a very important person in a kid's life, teach kids how to create their own jobs rather than gamble on a future job market that might not exist for them. And most importantly, to ensure that our kids have a sense of purpose, a feeling of purpose, that they care about the things that matter, that they aren't obsessed with money, but really are just excited about the good things they can do for the world through money, that they discover and embrace who God created them to be, that they don't live life afraid, and that in the midst of the crazy and scary time that we're experiencing right now, that our kids are able to find joy and fulfillment. Our youngest kids right now are being trained to become employees. They already go to a 9 to 5 every day. It's called school, where their teachers and their administrators love those kids and they care about them so much, and they're doing everything that they possibly can to prepare them. But we're all just trying to figure this out right now. None of us really understand the full extent of what's happening and what's coming. We just know that something's coming and that it's different from what it used to be. And while technology advances at an exponential rate, our kids, our teachers, are stuck in a system where change takes a long time. It's the same system that was created in the 19th century to train kids to become factory workers. And it worked. It's the system that trains kids to work in a structured environment and become compliant employees. By design, it does its job. So what happens when a bunch of compliant employees graduate from high school, graduate from college, and can't find a job because the job market doesn't exist for them anymore? I'll tell you what happens. They're lost. They'll be forced to find a way to create their own income, and they'll be starting from square one. So let's make sure they don't have to start from square one. Let's start developing those skills in them now so that they at least know it's an option. And that's why I'm interviewing business owners on this podcast, because while the pathway to creating your own business used to feel like more of a risky path, kind of dangerous, we're at a point now where even if you're going to a career that feels secure to you, that could change, and that could change quickly. Kids need to know how to pivot. It's the best skill that we could possibly be teaching them, to have the ability to be resourceful, to create their own income, to create their own job, and to take ownership and accountability for their own future. And now, for the rap song I promised, sharing how this all began. It was a normal day, yo. Daddy duty while I'm making pesos. Write some copy, close a client. Things were fine until this diaper exploded. Waco. It smells like chicken Alfredo. My daughter's a twisty tornado. Once an angel till she flipped off her halo, but now that she's clean with the bottle, she's bueno. I heard a knock at the door. What? I'm thinking, what is this for? Desperate solicitation from these pest control companies, they must be poor. Please help me, Lord. Please help me, Lord. I'm late for my meeting. But then I checked the Ring camera and saw it's a kid. I said, okay, I'll greet him. He said, hey, I was wondering, could I mow your lawn? And that left an impression. This kid was nervous, but he had the courage to knock on my door at the risk of rejection. And I found that impressive, so I started asking some questions and found out this kid is 13 and not even a freshman. That's a kid with some crazy work ethic, so I called his mom and she said I could let him mow. Parental consent is important. He got rid of my weeds, now they're dead and gone. Now this kid has some money for Jordan. In the summer, this kid's mowing 7 lawns. I think you get the point of this story. He inspired a movement, so get involved and enroll your family in Young Founders Academy today. Actually, you can't because it's not open yet, but I need to know what you think are the most important things for me to teach your kids when it comes to entrepreneurship, confidence, financial literacy, living with purpose while having fun. Your feedback is going to help a ton. You get to be a part of helping build this, and when you answer the questions today, I'll get you, your kids, your entire family on the early access waiting list. So drop a comment, send me a message, or click the button. As you're sitting, scrolling, sipping coffee, chilling, now you got one job and the job is this. Drop a comment, click the button, send a message to me, whatever the option is, because at the end of the day, I don't want your children replaced by the AI. That got me up in the late night. If you're with me, drop a comment and say I will answer the questions now, because I love my children. Wow. There you go. Whether you're joining us on day one of this podcast or you're joining us 2 years from the launch date, click on that survey, take the survey. It's going to be relevant for you. And most importantly, while you're taking the survey, continue to listen on, continue on to the next episode. I promise this podcast is not all doom and gloom. We've got some fun stuff to come. The reason we got so deep and maybe a little dark in the first episode is because we need to be aware of the problem if we want to be part of the solution. So there's a problem. Now we know about it. Our kids are being trained and prepared for an economy that doesn't exist anymore, that truly hasn't existed really since the beginning of the internet. It's changing now faster than ever. It's scary. And now we're going to spend the rest of the episodes together on this podcast from here on out, talking about solutions. And my goal is to take what many people view as the number one biggest threat our kids are facing, because it is, to take that threat and to turn that threat into a launch pad that propels our kids forward into a bright, optimistic, and exciting future where they have more power than any generation before them ever has. Hope you'll continue with us on this journey, and I hope to see you in the next episode.